into better fishermen tonight and fisher ladies. So, look, I've been fishing for all my life, 50 years, and off the Gold Coast. My dad was a crazy fisherman. Stewie's same deal. Stewie's been with us since he was 13. Part-time, that is, at the start. And then he's also a very accomplished fisherman, and I have to say better than me many things. Just luck, I guess, I don't know. But anyhow, we're very competitive, but we try and enjoy ourselves while we're out fishing, which is a good thing to do, right? On the water's fantastic. So I love snapper fishing, right? And this year, believe it or not, I've only been out once chasing the snapper, which was, I'm normally right into by now, but my favourite time is June, July, August for snapper. And so hence before that, I'm busy doing other stuff, whether it be mackerel or dewies or whatever it might be. But now we're into it. We went out the other day, chased them, and we couldn't get through the mackerel and the cove. You probably saw that, but we actually didn't get down to the snapper in the time period I had to fish for them because we catching other big fish. But that's the problem at the moment. The water temp's still 22 degrees. So we're still going to catch bycatches of mackerel and snapper. Mackerel and cobes and whatever whilst we're fishing for the snapper. They're not shy. They'll take half a pilly or they'll take a livey, obviously. So you get all the different fish on the same sort of bait. So, but once that water gets about 20, they're gone. And then it's only snapper. Okay, so hence one of the reasons why I haven't sort of been chasing them till now. Although last weekend, I saw the fishing last weekend was incredible. There's a lot of big fish out there, guys. So whether it be on the 18 fathoms, 24s, or 36s, or 50s, there's big fish all over the place. To be honest with you, they do school up. I find July is the best time to school up. Hence we do this seminar. And like by mid-July to late July, which is always around the Australian Fishing Tackle Show time, or early August, is when we get the biggest snapper out here. And they come right in close. So the biggest snapper are caught actually more on the close reef, sub 50 metres deep or around 50 metres deep and under, than they are out on the 36s and the 50s. We get consistent more sizing on the 36 fathom reef though. You might get there and get your bag limit of 8, and unfortunately I had to keep one over 65, 70.
70, I think, yeah.
70. In that catch per person. But the problem is we get like 8 fish that size. You only take 2 home, right? Because there's 2 of you fishing. So, because it's quite a common thing that does happen at the 36 fathom reef. 50 fathom reef, we don't get as many consistent big ones. You get the odd big one. I've caught many that are around 90 centimetres, but 1-offs, not 10-offs, you know? So they're more that sort of 45 to 60, so consistent 2 to 3 kilo size. So it's a different fishery. So in close, big ones, more numbers. 36s, big ones, definitely more numbers, and 50s, slightly smaller, but better average, if that makes sense. So we're going to start in close. We're going to work our way out deeper. And then we fish out like in electric reels at that sort of 280 metre mark as well, and we catch snapper out there too. The consistent size that there's around that 60, 65, 70 centimetres, sort of around about 3 kilos average size fish. I don't think we've caught one under 55 out there, or 60. No. Probably too scared to little ones out there. So, yeah. But as I said, the biggest one's my biggest snapper ever. 2 spots I've caught really well. One is Montana Ware, but it's halfway up North Stratty in about 52 metres deep. Okay, so that was the best session we ever had. That was quite a few years ago, but we caught many fish up around a metre. They were like 14 kilos, like big ones. My second biggest session was out the front here, straight off the seaway, where we tell you all to go mackerel fishing in 17 fathoms, straight up front of the seaway. That reef runs, it's called the Seaway Pinnacles, just north of the seaway down to about off sort of Seawell, quite a long reef, scattered little pinnacles around the place. And we caught them there one session with my brother Paul, and my sister Helen was downstairs. We got 5 that were around a metre in one session. That was about 10 years ago though. But we still get there every year, and we always get a 90, at least a 90 off that reef in July. Okay, so I'm trying to tell you where the best spots are. We'll talk about. You got GPS marks there. Yep, I'm going to talk about it a bit later. I was telling them at the front here. I was going through the GPS marks tonight, and I go, no, they've know that one. And I think I have to give you a new one. So I've had to go, but I've just about used up all my A marks. So I had to go to the A+ bolt and pull a few out. So hopefully they'll help you out. And they're good spots. And one of them is where we got the mackerel the other day, the cobia, but I normally get snapper there. But anyhow, yeah. So yeah, that's it. So anyhow, we'll get on with it. So, okay, when you're fishing close, the difference of fishing close and fishing out wide is the size of the line. They're more smarter fish, they're bigger fish, they're wise, and they're pretty skiddy. But the thing is, when they're on the bite, they don't care. They don't care about the size of the leader. They don't care about the size of your little snapper rods or float line rods. They just want to eat, and they'll eat hard, and they'll smash you. So one time we're out there, I remember, and we started off with like just a normal 30-pound fluorocarbon leader or 20-pound fluorocarbon leader. Couldn't get a fish up. Going to like 60 and then 80. Still couldn't get a fish up. Didn't know what they were. We thought they might have been cobia. And we were using live bait sand pulleys. And then we found some 100, I think it's 120-pound leader. And then we finally got a fish up, and it was like a 90-something snapper. And they just brick you hard on the bottom. If you ever want to see what they do, there's a video out by Ross, Jet Ski Roscoe, I think it is. Yeah. There's a bit of a legend on jet ski, old Ross. He's retired now, so he's about probably 70-something. But he's a legend fisherman. And he had a water wolf down on the snapper, and you actually see the snapper hit the livey. And out here, there's actually amongst those little pinnacles, there's a lot of little crevices. And it just went from there, beeline straight for that crevice, and then went down through the crevice because the water wolf's fallen all the way and smacking its head trying to do you. But he had heavy leader on that day, and he managed to get the fish up. It was around 90-something centimetres. But it goes to show you they know how to destroy us. So my suggestion is when you get done more than once or twice on a big fish, your window is very short. Normally it's only about an hour or maybe a daylight or on a bite period. Quickly change up. Because when they're biting, they don't care about the size of the line, like I was saying to you, the leader, and the size of anything. Just get one up, okay? Bit hard to put 80-pound leader on a little float line rod though, like we're talking about tonight. But getting back to the basics, you need to fish light in close, okay? We fish light to about, even at 50s we fish light, but 50 fathoms that is, but generally speaking it's more in close. So I'll show the rods and reels first. We'll run through those, Stu, if you want, mate. And then we'll run through the gear that you need to use and how to do it. So this is the sort of thing that we use in close, which is like a sort of 6 to 8 kilo rod, or a bit heavier around that. 4 to 5,000 size reel, and that one's got 20-pound braid on it, or 30 on say a 5,000 size reel. You just want that little bit of power on the tip just to sort of lock up on them and get them up. We're fishing very light sinkers. We're fishing 30-pound leader, and it's all quite light, right? And we're using a technique of casting up or backing up and letting it just free fall and doing that way. We'll talk about also losing electrics, motors that is, and other things a bit later, how to do the technique, but that's the sort of thing we're using. If we go up to a 5,000 size, there's not much difference actually in 5 in that size. That's that size there, so it's a 5, just the rod's just a little bit heavier, just a bit bigger handle, a bit bigger reel.
The size of the rod again, what's the kilo?
That one's
5 to 8.
5 to 8, yeah. So, but most 8 kilo rods we stick 30-pound braid on. Yeah, it's quite stiff. And then that's sort of fishing close, but when things are getting tough and you're getting done right, we'd go up the ante. Stu's going to grab something out here a bit bigger. Sorry, Stu, I sabotage it, mate.
Yeah, we're not used to having them this neat.
So normally, guys, anything from like a 6 or an 8 or a 10,000 size reel is good. This is an 8,000 in a pen, but that's sort of the next size up. So, which is probably going to be your cobia rod, your live bait Dewey rod, or your king jigging rod, whatever it might be. But always have a heavier rod on your boat, no matter what, when you're fishing for snapper. Because if you're getting done, like I said, you need to go something like this to try and see what's doing you. So what have you got?
12 kilo.
This one's 12 to 20 and 50-pound braid. So just still soft tip, but just a bit heavier, more powered in the bottom here. In an overhead, this is about the minimum size I'd use, a little TR2000 Shimano. And again, the rod's like about an 8 to 15 kilo rod. Soft tip, but just again, a lot of power in the butt. So anything in that sort of size is your heavier. They've both got 50-pound braid, your heavier outfit. And if you're getting done on that, then you probably should go home or something. Don't give up, but you know what I mean. Okay, so Stu, you need to add to that, mate?
No, I think the biggest thing is try to fish as light a line as you can.
Always,
line
yeah.
diameter is a massive thing. So 50-pound braid isn't just 50-pound braid anymore. You got cheaper ones, you got dearer ones. The more money you spend in braid, the thinner it is. So you can get away with fishing a heavier braid for the same thickness. So you can get away with, when you float line in smaller sinkers, less drag, easier to reach the bottom, and you feel more bites. So.
Yeah, the beauty these days is some of the rods, or most of the reels actually, like those 4,000 and 5,000 size reels, have like 9 kilos of drag, so you can run like 30-pound braid and fish it hard, or maybe even 40. Go back a few years ago, a reel that size that had about a 5 or 6 kilo drag, and you only fish sort of 20-pound braid, and it wouldn't function or do any more if you put heavier line, and it couldn't do any better for you. But now you can actually fish hard on a heavier line on a smaller reel because the braid's so thin and the reels are so strong, so it's easier. Fish lighter. Look, lighter in weight, not necessarily lighter in line. Does that make sense? It's line thickness, so get lighter. Yeah. Okay, sinker size. So that's the rod and reel. Next thing, obviously, leaders next, sorry. So leader, look, again, the Stu's saying fish light. If they're finicky, because not every day they're like that slamming hard, breaking off sort of scenario. Generally, it's work your backside off, fish hard, fish light, and you might get a few up, right? But if you don't go light from the start and you fish heavy straight up, the chances are you probably won't see one. Normal case, because they're pretty clever. So you've got to wait to get that one. You lose that one, you get dusted, then you realise, hey, there's some good fish here. Maybe I have another crack for my like here, or maybe I'll up the ante. But 20 or 30-pound fluorocarbon leader is not too bad. If you're using, say, mono, 30-pound, I'd probably say start about 30, but 30 or 40. So 40-pound monos like using 30-pound fluoro, and 30-pound monos like using 20-pound fluoro in abrasion resistance. So it's a bit thinner, that has less stretch. Okay, so just that sort of scenario, but definitely better abrasion resistance than mono. If you're getting done, then you jump up to say 50-pound in fluorocarbon or just in a normal leader. And if you're getting done on that, then you go up to 80 or 100. Okay, which does happen. Okay, so that's the leader. Leader length, Stu, you like a long leader, mate.
Yeah, so long leader, like as Dougie said, those bigger fish, they're definitely more wary. So, and the other thing is I always use fluoro and it sinks. So I can get away with using a lighter sinker. So I can rein everything back, lighter sinker, and that little bit of sink in leader is going to help me get down there a bit quicker as well. So, but I'll run 3 meters. Yeah, 3 meters leader.
So when you got no current, definitely fluorocarbon sinks much quicker than mono. So it falls a lot quicker, and it's all about being in the zone, which again we'll talk about a bit later. But the lighter your line is, the fluorocarbon versus mono, it sinks much quicker, and you want to be down in that zone. I'm not talking like that sort of quick. I'm talking like just going down in the zone nicely, not getting a bow in your line. So once your line gets too thick, or you're using too long a mono leader, you get a bow in your line, and everything's not real. It's not real time. It's like delayed, and a lot of time you miss the fish because it's actually already bit or hit and it's already run, and when you go to strike, it's at the end of it's too late. You want to be more direct, more contact, more straight down. Okay. Sinker size is next probably thing. So again, depends on the size leader and everything. It's all relative to wind, leader size, and braid size or mono, and tide. So if I was using, say, actually, there's a mono outfit here too, Stewie, I think. Because a lot of guys still like using mono for snapper. It's one of the only species offshore that we sell a lot of mono for, is snapper fishing. So this is a typical, not bad quality snapper type combo from Shimano. It's an 8,000 size reel, soft tip, but a lot of power in the butt. And that's got 20-pound mono on it. But that 20-pound mono is like thicker than 50-pound braid, okay? Does that make sense? It's quite thick. But would still work. But on that one there, I'd be using probably 30-pound fluorocarbon or 40-pound mono leader as my leader. But my sink is going to be a lot bigger than I'll be using on the braid. So The sinker on this one here is going to be probably around 3/4 ounce size, fishing in close. Because it's going to take, because it's so thick, it's going to take a bit to get it down there, and we don't want that delayed effect. So we have to upsize the sinker to make sure it falls at the right speed, straight down, and not delayed, okay? But if I was using one of those other 2 combos that Stewie had before with the 30 pound on there, I'd try and get away with like a 3/8 or a half or something like that, which I'll pass this around. Thank you. You've got some of these sinkers in your bag too, guys. So it's all relative to the line size. That's the first part. The next part you have to understand is your the wind. So if you're using, say we're using the braid outfit, and we're using a 1/2 ounce sinker, and we're drifting at about, say, the wind's blowing about 10 knots, so a little bit white cap, just not too bad. And you're going to drift reasonably fast, but you need your line to be sort of in the area. So I always cast it up in front of the boat. Make sure you don't drift over the line. So work out, first time's a bit hard. Second time you work out which, if that's the front of the boat, you work out which way to throw it, as in that way, or that way, or that way. So you don't run over your line, it comes down beside the boat, sort of thing. Okay? And then you need to learn when it's in the zone, which is on that sort of, probably from just past the front of the boat on the front end to about probably 10 metres behind the boat. That's the zone, okay? Like a pyramid. And if your line's sort of about 2/3 the way down at the front of the boat, and it nearly gets to the bottom at the back of the boat, that's the perfect zone, okay, without having too much belly in your line. So the sinker has to be able to do that for you. So if your sinker's too light, you'll need to up the ante. If you're throwing out up there, doing everything right there, and you know the zone's there, but you know your line's on that angle, it's going to go past the boat. It's never going to get to where you want it to be unless you back up. So in that case, quickly wind it back up, cut it, put a new sinker on, retire it, and up the ante on the sinker. I'll use 2 sinkers. If you haven't got a bigger sinker, don't be scared to use 2 sinkers together. This is better than not getting down there. Same scenario, if you cast up and the wind's against the current and it's sort of sitting still or whatever it might be, and there's no current, and your line's just like gone too quick. Too quick's not good. You want it to be just that right speed. It's so precise. This is when they're finicky, okay, not when they're hungry, okay? And so if your line's fallen too fast, you need to cut that off and put a smaller sinker on. So it's all about getting that part right. The bad problem is you've only got about 30 minutes to do this in, because that's when they're biting the best. So, which is right on dark when it's hard to see put the line through the sinker. But my suggestion is, and Stu does the same too, is to rig up everything before you go out.
Yeah.
The night before, I know it's painful, you want to go to sleep, get some sleep, but rig up all your lines, so you just grab them and put them in the boat, and off you go. You're all done. Put a bait on, off away you're fishing. Don't do it out there. And have a spare rod, so you got another one ready to go. If you get done, you can at least throw that out and then start tying while you're watching the other one about to take off. Okay. Yep. Any questions on that so far? Everyone's good? Good to hear? Okay down the back, guys? Yeah, cool. Okay, so we've got our sinker size sorted out. Next is our hook size. So look, there's probably 3 different techniques of hooks on, we call it, this is all floater fishing, right? Float line fishing, we still get to the bottom, it's not on float, just the terminology. We've been using these a bit, and actually Stu got some good snapper. What was that, about March or something?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we got some good snapper back in March when we first got these in, we started testing them. And they are really, really good in the 5.0 and the 7.0. Just using a Pelion and running a Lumo sinker or just a plain sinker straight above it. 30-pound leader, same scenario. But remember, using a full pilchard, you're going to have more drag. Okay, so remember that. So you might need a little bit bigger sinker to pull it down compared to, say, a half pilchard. That's how finessed it is. A bit bigger sinker, full pilchard, a little bit smaller sinker, half pilchard. But as I said, when they're on the bite, they don't care about it. So this is just normal fishing. So that's the first technique, is a gang hook. Second technique is, which you all got in your bag. I think you got one of these too, or something like this style.
Yeah. So this is like more of a traditional float line type rig.
But
2 hooks, snell. We just put the dressing on it or some added attractant.
It's a bit fancy. So you've got one of these rigs in your outfit now, in your bag. So this is actually like a Some have got the stretchy legs on them. Oops, just pulled out the hook. And some have got the skirt on it, like that rig on my rod there, Stu. Like that one. That's got 2 sinkers on it too. See, I have no use 2 sinkers when I have to. I don't have any bigger ones. But that's the skirt. So does the skirt make a difference? Hey, I believe it totally it does, 100%. Again, with their biting hard, they don't care. But when it's a bit fussy, I believe it works better. Same with the hooks, the gang hooks. Years ago, when I was only a young guy, we always used to use, actually I got a packet here somewhere. My dad taught me this. So we used to use a gang hook, 5 ball sinkers, fishing 36 fathoms, standard rig, 50-pound mono, 3 5.0s with a ball sinker right on top of it, and we put a Lumo skirt above the pilchard, above the hook. And the difference it made back those days was quite amazing. Thank you, Stu. And ever since then, as time's gone on, things got a bit more fancier. I don't think the fishermen got more clever.
What about like snapper snatches? You know those like
Yeah,
really fine,
same.
thing
Yeah,
as well?
same thing.
Oh, yeah, you got
Paternoster, yeah. But in the float lining, that's the 3 styles. So, that's 2 styles. Last style is the basic way. If you just want to go back to the basics and it still works, I don't know if it works as good though, but just a plain ball sinker, uncoloured, and just a 4.0, 5.0 single hook and a half pilly or a chunk of pilly or a squid, and just throw it out. Okay.
Do you find the coloured sinkers work better than just the?
Yeah, it's like the skirt stuff. I think it does.
Yeah.
I think the Lumo and the UV as well, so they're super bright. So I'll hit the UV torch when the lights off a bit later to show a couple of things, but it's definitely like a brightness different to what we see it. Yeah, it's UV, so they're very I don't know, eye-catching for the fish more than the fishermen, but for us as a fisherman, it looks like lollies, you know. But I think it does make a difference, yeah. Well, I believe it makes a difference, yeah. Not think it does. The other thing too is beads, like Lumo beads are even good. If you don't have any Lumo sinkers, my suggestion also just to use it. You've got Lumo beads there too. Just put the bead above your hook and put the normal plain sinker above that. It works fine, and I use that on my Paternoster as well, which I'll talk about a bit later. Yeah, so Lumo does help. Lumo's all UV, by the way. It's definitely UV. Okay. So that's the rig, and we've sorted out the sinker size based upon the line size and the wind and the current. Okay. When you go out the day, I definitely look at the weather first at home, and they're always wrong, but I try to get it right. So if they're saying it's going to be like 10 knots, then I know I'm going to use about, on my lights gearing close, about a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce Lumo sinker. So I'll rig them all up the same. If it's going to be coming in like it's going to be really calm to start, and within half an hour, it's going to be blowing 15 knots, I'll generally do 2 and 2. 2 light ones, 2 heavy ones. Switch straight away as soon as they start not getting to the bottom. Because, as I said, time's the essence. So the bite time in close out here, look, it's always a daylight bite and there's an evening bite. So the daylight bite means you've got to be out there at about this time of the year, probably around about 5:30, 5:45, which is dark. You've got to watch out for the whales, though. Whales are a problem, okay? Sort of feel around. There's a lot.
Reverse came along, I was hit like, oh, reverse, straight.
Yeah, to do your gearbox at the same time.
So what is it? Are they just not hungry after 6 o'clock or something?
No, it's in close. I think at the sun out wider, the reason they bite longer out wider is because it takes a lot longer for that sun to get down. It's got to be up higher to penetrate to make it light, right? But in close, as soon as that sun's on the horizon, it's only shallow, it's already beaming in. And they just, I think that's the feed time for them, and they just sort of switch off a bit.
So if you're
But-
50s, it wouldn't matter.
It can get a lot longer. Sometimes you definitely get to 9 or 10 o'clock. And then you'll get maybe, by that time it's the bite times then comes into effect. Where in close, say you've got a boat here that's less than 5 metres or 4 metres, and the bite time, if you can be out there at that time of the day, that's great at 5:30. You won't get many snapper in the dark, guys. Like you get the odd ones, but they just seem to switch off. I don't know why. Yeah. You get trag Jew and stuff like that, Moses perch, but you just don't get many snapper. Then as soon as that light just starts to crack on the rod, it's a little faint line, still dark, they'll come on, okay? And then by about 6:37, the Sergeant Bakers and the Grinners start to come on, sweep, or the bycatch. Then you look at your watch and you think, okay, I know exactly the high tide's at 9 o'clock. There's going to be bite time at 11, okay? Had you gone wider, if you had the bigger boat, you'd be still in the bite period and then it might go a bit quiet, but then they'll come straight back on again in the bite time. In close, you've got to hang out there for 3 hours and whatever. And then they come on the bite maybe at 10, 11 o'clock on the bite time. And they will bite during the middle of the day, 100% on the bite time.
How do you find out the bite time?
2 hours after high tide's the general rule.
Okay,
Yeah.
2 hours after bite time.
Yeah. Which doesn't allow you to go out if the swell's big, because you've got to come back in on the half run outside and it's ugly. So you've got to take that into consideration. Yeah. Okay. So that's our standard float lining outfit, Stuart.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that, man?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Okay. So that's on the 24 fathom reef, right? 36 fathoms, exactly the same scenario. And we still use the light gear, but our sinker size is up the bit, so because of the depth. Otherwise, it won't get down to the bottom. So what we're doing there is we're running around, generally I run about a 3/4 to 1 ounce sinker, and I'm fishing on the 36 fathom reef. So how many people have boats, say, under 4.5 metres? Okay, so you can all go out 36 fathoms then, as long as your boat's fairly sound and you know what you're doing. Okay, so be careful westerly winds this time of the year, folks, because westerly winds out 36s are ugly. Now the 50s is more ugly. So, but the 18s and 24s borderlining, but not too bad. 18 fathoms is always nice. Okay, so you need to know what the wind's doing as well. So if it says it's going to be 15 to 20 knot westerlies, I definitely wouldn't go past 24 fathoms, even if I had an 8 metre boat. If it's going to be southeast or northeast, 10 to 15, I'll definitely go out further. It might be a bit choppy, but not too bad. But a westerly wind's your worst enemy, worst wind. Okay. For those who don't go out far in a westerly wind, you don't want you to go out there and experience it, but it's pretty horrid. Anyone here been caught out in a westerly at all? Yep, pretty ugly, mate. Very. It's like going through the surf, put your boat in on the beach and going out through the surf. They break. And they just stand up and break. So and you can't do more than about 10 knots. Try and keep that nose up and try and keep the nose out of the breaking water as much as you can. But the beauty of the westerly wind is after about an hour and you've made 5 Ks, it's going to get a little bit better. Okay, unless you're a long way out. And then once you get in about sort of around 50 metres, you're thinking, oh, I'm there. I've done it. Okay. Okay, so that's the float line outfits. We'll talk about how to do it in a minute. Now going to go to Paternoster type outfit. So anything you want to add on that, little Stu?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Hook size. No one asked about hook size. Okay, so hook size depending on the bait you're using and what you're doing. But generally speaking, 5/0s, 4/0s or 5/0s are a good all-rounder in close here. But I've used up to 7/0s and 8/0s. They love live bait as much as they do pillies. Okay, and the beauty of using live bait is the disadvantage, you can't use it on those little float line rods. It doesn't work. Okay, you need to go to the next size up we showed you. Obviously your sinker's a lot bigger, using about a 1.5 or 2 ounce ball. I mean an egg sink or whatever, to keep it down there because they don't like the fish chase them, so they'll run away with the light sinker and tangle all your lines up. Painful. You want to keep them as vertical as you can. Pin them nearly to the bottom, just maybe one at the bottom, one just off the bottom, and that'll have to get your snapper. Live bait's one of the only ways of snapper fishing where they don't really care about the size of the sinker. They just want to nail that bait. So whether you're before we're trying to fish as light as we can and in the zone at the right time, live bait you can go straight past his head and it'll sit on the bottom and he'll go down to it and eat it.
What about squid?
Yeah, squid's good bait as well. So squid, obviously, you can get live squid these days, but I'll be eating that. But if you're going to use dead squid, gang hooks are fine, 2 snell hooks are fine. Whatever you want to use, whatever you want to do. We're going to rig up a couple of pillies when these defrosted a bit later, but we use a lot of that bait mate type stuff wrapping around it.
What kind of hooks? Obviously, like
Yeah.
a circle hook or.
So don't ever use circle so much when you're float lining. Doesn't sort of work. So circle hooks are designed to have some sort of big weight at the bottom, and they actually loose up here, and when they pull on it, they hook themselves. If it's a circle hook and you've got no weight, they just grab it, but doesn't sort of the effect doesn't work. Doesn't hook in. So my suggestion is to use what you got in the bag, which is just like an octopus style hook. Yeah, sort of 5/0, 7/0s. A couple of those snell together. 5/0s are fine. Again, I do up a couple of different rigs and just wrap it around some. We've got these rig holders downstairs, but you just wrap it around a bit of pool noodle or whatever and have your rigs all made up, ready to roll. Again, you don't want to sit there and do like a whatever type knot use on your hooks. Everyone's got different knots, but you want to have it done so you can just attach it straight away, quick as you can. Leader wise, as I said, Stuart uses a long leader. How long's your leader, Stuart?
3 meters, yeah, for this stuff, yeah.
I'm no more than a metre.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I cast, I don't want to get that knot caught up on the way out. Okay. So I'm trying to cast. I've always got my knot just hanging out the back end of the rod. So I try and cast the distance of the depth, and then I leave the bar arm open.
But use an FG knot for that.
Yeah.
Use FG, yeah.
Yeah.
I just do an Albright,
Yeah.
old school. So if I'm in 50 metres deep, I'm trying to cast 50 metres in advance. When they're on the bite, though, I don't cast. I just drop it straight at the back, flip the bar arm open, let it go down. You can keep it on a lot more. You know it's straight down like that. And as soon as I'm near the zone, I back up. I just back up a little bit, and then just let it sort of free fall. And that's when it slams it. They go hard. Okay, but till I get to that point where I know the fish are on the chew, I'm casting up all the time. I'm trying to work out what's going on. I know there's a lot to take in. It's quite confusing, but when you get there and experience how it works, it's quite easy. Okay. Does anyone have a good snapper season at all? Or a good snapper session? Sorry, not season. Snapper session, where they've been on the bite big time.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, last year.
Your course last year.
Good. You got a few?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, mate. That's good. How did you go, mate? Get a few?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see what I mean? When they're on the bite, they don't care, right? They just go hard. Just slam it. That's right. So you have to play around a bit till you get to that point whenever that bite time might be. But early in the morning, if you do what we're saying, they'll hit it before that sun rises up. Once it rises up a bit, come up a bit on the horizon, 6:30, you'll tend to get less bites. From the bigger fish, that is. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go now to Paternoster. So Paternoster. So Paternoster is the old school way of just a snapper lead like so, and a couple of droppers or 3 droppers or whatever you may want. This technique is really good when you get further and deeper, say on the 50 fathom reef, you catch probably as many snapper on that as you will in float lining. Okay, when they're on the bite out there, they just bite. They're different fish, the same fish but different thinking fish. Not so educated, maybe, I don't know. The 36 fathom reefs, you can also catch them on the Paternoster as well quite easily, but definitely you'll get better float lining on the 36s. The 24 fathom reefs, I would dare not to ever do much of this sort of stuff when I'm trying to catch snapper, but my son Jack always proves me wrong, gets like an 80 or an 85 on his Paternoster, but he uses the dress like that sort of stuff on it, right? So whether that helps, I don't know, but I guess it does. This hook rig that Stewie's got here, which you guys, I don't know if you got one of these. I think you have got one of these. So there's two hook rigs in your bag there, and they're a circle hook. Again, we're going to use the heavier leads as we said before. Swivel to the top, loop to the bottom for your sinker, and these things are circle hooks, like I was saying. They are really, really good. Again, it's that new technique of using like a dress type hook. For those of you who ever go to the reef fishing, like this is the latest craze. This sort of stuff just outdoes anything for bait fishing. One hook, 2 lots of one hook.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, has 2 lots in that little packet.
And what size lead would you use on that?
So this is a very important question. If I'm fishing, I don't fish much with this sort of thing in close unless I'm chasing trade jewel or something, but I'd be using about an 8 ounce sinker, yeah, because you want to keep it sort of straight down. the having a loose line on this type of thing is not what you don't want. So keep it fairly heavy. 36 is 12 ounce, 50,000 16 ounce. Okay. And if you've got a bit of current, sometimes you've got to put 2 16s on out wide. But the current's really good now. So if you don't know about the current situation, how it works, on the Gold Coast we get a lot of north to east current, Nemo Highway, and it runs generally from sort of late November to about March, April, pretty well. Yeah, so it'll run up to about 5 knots, 4 knots a lot of the time. Anything over 2.5 knots, it's really hard to fish. It doesn't sound like much, but it's very fast. Try swimming against it; it's pretty hard. My suggestion is during that period, you go trolling or something, do something different. Or if you get the day, you can look at charts. So there's free chart on BOM. BOM has like a current chart, BOM, and I'll tell you what's going on. Windy has, if you go especially Windy Pro, they have a really good current chart, and it's not too expensive. But if you go to some of the better ones, better charts that you cost a fair bit more money, they have really good detailed charts on current. So that's a good thing too. If you're going to go wide for the day, I always check the current. So if I'm going to go 50s for the day, 50 fathoms, it's 40k run. I'll quickly look at my phone and okay, there's like a really dark red patch coming down the coast tomorrow. It's already sort of just starting to trickle through, and by it's maybe 1.6 knots, and tomorrow's going to be 3. I probably won't go bottom fishing unless we're using electrics. It's too hard. You've got to use too big a lead. But that's mainly in that time of the year. Now you're pretty safe. The odd current comes through, but it's not too bad. Okay. So that's another Paternoster rig. And the traditional type rig, which I really like to use still, do up my own. Does anyone not know how to tie like a dropper loop? Okay, so we've got a thing on YouTube. You can jump on there and have a look. But I'll just do a big one for you. So just a loop like so, like that. Hold on your left hand over the top, like so, and then just wrap the 2 lines around each other, keeping that original loop out from you. When you're at that point there, you just stick it through from underneath, through the loop, and then pull it. When you pull it equally. You should wet it, of course, and then just lock it in like so. Okay.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I've done it. I watch a video on my extra my own loops.
Good.
Every now and again, I pull and it
One go,
slides.
because it's got to go equal.
Equal,
If
so
one side's off more than the other, it
that's
keeps
what
going that
happens.
way.
Is that what happens? Yeah.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I've noticed it sometimes like, damn, and then it
Yeah.
creases all line, it goes all winkly. And
Yeah. No, that's all right.
Okay, that's all right.
Practice. So a few things you can do with this little one here. You can put skirts on it. You can just put a gang hook on it on the top if you want, or just a single circle hook. You could use beads, and I like to use tube, which we do on our deep drop rigs as well. So you just buy like a Lumo tube like so. You can just thread it through, and you can put like a bead at the end so it doesn't get caught on the hook eye, and just stays a bit more detached from the whole rig.
Less is more sometimes.
I
Overdress it.
hate it when I drop down something like this. For fishing wise, I say no, that's okay. But when you're fishing rough territory and you've made all your rig up and you drop it down, straight get snagged.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that. But anyway, that's the way it is. And then this hooks, you've got some circle hooks in one of these little boxes here. That's this dude. Put my glasses on to be able to see.
That's right. I think the biggest thing is as well, if you're going to tie your own Paternoster rigs, use a little bit heavier leader. Don't think to go and use that 20 pound or 16 pound or anything. They just don't hold. Knots
And
don't hold.
knots pull out.
Yeah.
You need to use at least 60, if not 80.
Are those pre-tied ones any good? You see?
Yeah, those ones like that one there made a really, really. Oh, not that one there.
Are you talking about
Oh,
the
like
continuous
this. Well,
one?
actually.
Yeah, 80 metres.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay, but should learn to do your own knots.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, it's okay. It's good. Yeah, you just cut it off and put the sinker, cut right into the knot, sink on that one, and then go up and put your swivel on. So a lot of people ask, how do you put a circle hook on? The first thing I suggest is the way I do it and the way we do it, is never to put it from the back in, right? Always go from the front, the hook facing towards you, the barb, and go in that way. Okay. So it always hangs in.
Oh, okay.
The hookup rate is
Change
by
that.
far better. Does anyone go the other way? And probably catch fish, do you? Well, yeah, that's the way we do it, and that's why the pros, the long liners tell us to do it. So yeah, just like that. So that's your rig, okay? And then space them about that far apart where my other hand is here, from there, and do your next one, and so on, and so on, and so on. And then down the bottom, you just do just a loop, to put your sinker on, nothing fancy, you don't need any swivels, so just do a little spider hitch, whatever. Just 1 knot's enough, just like so. I'll just pass this to one. Actually, I'll make a rig up. We got time?
Always. Always just cut your tag end off with your dropper loop at the bottom as well for your sinker.
100%.
Otherwise, it goes up and it tangles and it's horrible.
It gets caught in your mate's line, that little tag, and pulls his line around your line. Next minute, everything's having a good time together. Let's do 2 hooks. And swivel there already, remember?
Yep.
Fantastic.
These are probably one of those things that if you can have a couple tied up, it definitely saves a lot of time. I just tie snells and stuff as I go, but this stuff here is easy just to have them all done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the top here, I'll just put one of these gang hooks on. I've got one out of the packet of them. It's very dangerous. Put my hand in here. There's many, many hooks. It's all right. We're not worried about it. We'll just rip one out. Thanks, man. So I'll just put a little done one that it's that quick to make up. So at night time, a couple of drinks with your mates, make up a heap of rigs. Just don't put the sinkers on. I generally run 3 hooks. Sometimes I run 4. Before the bag limit, maybe more. But it rhymes. But no, look, generally 2 or 3 hooks is enough. I like catching pearl perch. The drop of pearl perch, you've only got a bag limit of 4, so you can get in 1 drop you can bag out if you've got 4 hooks on. So we're running the dress hook on the top. I always run the gang hook on the top one, never down the bottom. You've got more chance of hooking up in the bottom if it's down the bottom. And I find the bigger fish tend to be just off the bottom. So that's why my gang hook's always at the top.
How long do you make that initial one? Because that then doesn't snag as much, does it?
The first one about 1/2 metre off the bottom, yeah. Just pass that around. Please be careful of the hooks, folks. So I'm running a pilly, or as the gentleman said before, squid at the top there, and just a pilchard and a bit of squid on the bottom. I'll run about put the hooks on the baits a bit later. Baits the hooks, sorry. Please be careful of the hooks.
And that you don't use in deep water.
That don't use it in shallow water.
I'll make heaps of these.
So,
You don't use it in shallow.
I do. I don't much, no. Only for trade. Yeah.
From a TV, just making crap loads of them.
Yeah.
We've got bags
So-
of them.
Yeah, there, do
They
it up.
probably have to change them all.
So-
Turn it away now.
Sorry, mate. 36s and 50 fathoms. Yeah. So guys, when you get used to the float line, you know the aspect of what size sinker and everything else. I would suggest if you're fishing 36 or 50s to definitely run a bottom rig like that as well at the same time. So you cast up your float line one and drop that one over next, and hold that one and watch the other one and leave the bar arm open, or if you're using overhead, just keep an eye and make sure it's just going down nicely. And then when it's sort of in the zone, well, you probably get the bottom of this one first because it'll reach the bottom obviously quicker, right? So if you get one good fish on, you got him on, you're watching the other one, and all of a sudden it flies out, I'd definitely put that one in the rod holder while it's got a fish on and grab your float line, and because that'll be the better quality fish most times. Okay. If you get that lucky. Yeah. Is there anyone to add to that?
No, I don't think
No?
so. I think the biggest thing is that when you're bottom fishing or fishing that Paternoster, you can't have it drifting out the back. It's got to be up and down. As soon as you start dragging something like that, you just get so many snags.
So once it's more than about, if your Paternoster is more than that angle behind the boat, you need to back up. So I keep my motor going the whole time. I know it's not good for engine hours, but for practicality, who cares? I'm only live for that certain amount of time. I want to enjoy it. So back it up. And it's always in reverse. At times I can get my motor just clicking over and it's just holding us in the current nicely. Just got to watch out that the bum doesn't move around. And make sure your mate's lines don't get caught around the prop. But if you can do all that, it's actually really good fishing. Okay, and I find the best thing is if you're bottom fishing, if you like, especially watching the sound, which we'll talk about in a moment, you come up to your spot. I back up when I'm coming close to a reef. I'll back up, so that my line's actually going past me. Now they're back up towards the front of the boat, and I'm just coming on the edge of my pinnacle. So I'm then ready to fish as it goes past the boat with the current. And that's the zone. Okay, straight down. Yeah.
Do you ever use anchors, like a sea
Yeah,
anchor?
definitely. And actually, I got them downstairs, but I forgot to bring one up. So sea anchors are like, if you got sort of say more than 12 knots of wind, it's starting to break a little bit white cap, I definitely suggest maybe using a sea anchor or back up, as I was saying. You can't back up on a sea anchor though. So you've got to choose one or the other. Doesn't work backing up on it. But if, and the other thing I remember about sea anchors is you have to pull it in when you go back up, because when the fish are on the bite and you're excited, go back up another drift quick. If your line's up, if you get the sea anchor, it's going to be trouble. So, but other than that, it's all right. It's happened to me. I've run them over about 2 of them, I think, in my lifetime. Yeah.
All the blade things now, they cut them off. Go around the prop.
Oh, yeah, I see those. Yeah.
I don't know if they work or not.
No, I want to try and get the anchor back so I can use it again. But yeah, if you don't like backing up, it's a bit of hassle, or your mates fishing with your greenbees and get line caught around their prop all the time. Sea anchor's fantastic. Okay. Yep. They're about $100 for a good one, and go oversized. Don't ever go too small. So the ones we sell, they'll take an 8-meter boat. You know. Yep. Okay, so that's about it for the Paternoster rig. So Vex, you can tell us about
Yeah,
this,
so a
mate?
bit of a hybridy type thing. So it's not really a float line. It's not really a Paternoster bottom fishing rig. So
It's not really a lure, but
it's
it
not
is
really a
lure.
lure, but it's a Anyway, it's basically your sinker, and then just they're dressed hooks, and you just put a slab of mullet on there, or a flesh bait, or a pilly, or a squid,
Yep.
and just fish it like you would a Paternoster rig type of thing. Drop it down to the bottom.
Yep.
Not too much of a naturally type sink. You can buy lighter ones. They're doing from about 20 grams, and you can float
Yeah,
those
you can
ones
float
down.
line those down.
But yeah, everything's compact. Everything's all there. Yeah,
Not as important to be straight up and down on that one.
No,
you
that's
can
right.
float line it.
Be-
Yeah,
Because it's sort of a bit like
Yeah.
like one of these type of jigs, one of the ball type jigs. It's like that sort of thing. So it sort of works like that with the bait hanging off it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of action to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they work really good up the reef. trout
Really good
fishing
at the
and all
reef.
that stuff.
But
and
they
all
work
that,
on
but it
snappers.
works good for snappers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tuskies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we've covered everything here, Stu.
Yep.
Braids. So as Stu said before, there's braids and there's braids. The braids that are on the spin reels there are quite a good braid actually. And the braid that's on the overhead is irrelevant because the overheads, it's just overheads don't need much to pull it off. Does that make sense? So it works different to a spin reel. So a spin reel, to make it work properly for float lining, it needs to be fairly full because it needs to come off the spool quite easy. You've got to get over that lip. Okay. If you've only got 150 meters on, you're fishing 50 fathoms, it won't work. You run out of line all the time. And it'll be a pain in the backside where it's joined underneath getting caught all the time. So try and put a full 250, 300 meters of braid on your reel. So the braid then obviously has to suit that size reel. If you are using overheads, if you're using too big overhead, it doesn't work for float lining either because it takes too much momentum to get it going with such a small sinker. You got to strip it by hand and do it by hand, which is quite painful. And you strip all the braid off on the surface, you see it all there, and you go, it's getting could be a bit ugly. You go like this. And then when the fish hits it and it grabs something on the way through, it's like, anyhow. So my suggestion is you're better off going a bit bigger sinker in that case, and make sure it's free falling and pulling up the reels as good as you can get it. That reel there, the TR2000, is probably as big as I'd float line with. Okay, if that makes sense. But you can bottom bash with those too. Okay.
Can I also
So
ask one question?
yeah,
How long would you keep braid on before changing it?
yeah. Like I'm pretty bad with my gear, Stu. Will tell you. And some of my
Dougie
braids.
runs out of braid before anything happens. It's around his prop. It's around someone else's prop. It depends on how much you pay for it.
Yeah, okay.
So
Okay.
the more you pay in braid, the longer it lasts.
Yeah. So that's right. And that's how they do it overseas. It's actually measured by time. The quality is by the time of how long it'll last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not by heavy strands, whatever. By that.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Japan, that is. So generally for me, about 3 years. But my braid doesn't last that long. Yeah. But some of it is 3
I was
years.
going to say 3 months.
Some might be 4 years.
3
Yeah.
months, you'd be lucky.
Yeah, there's no time to get wrapped around the prop.
If you keep your lines out of the sunlight, it will last longer as well.
Oh, you might
Yes.
get that 5 years out of it, mate. Yeah. But it's you'll generally find on braid, most of you would know this from previously fishing, you had to grab that rod again and the top's all faded away and a bit fluffy, furry. Just cut off 20 metres. It's generally about 20 metres. And you're back to the good stuff again. Or you can reverse it. Braid has no memory. So when you put mono on a reel, the first sort of 50 metres onto the spool is very tight and very small. And when you reverse it, it's very springy at that end. Doesn't work. Braid doesn't have any memory, so it doesn't care. You reverse it, it's like brand new at the other end. Okay.
Do you find bait runners are good for a float line?
Yeah, they are. And I didn't mean bait runner combo, but I got 4 bait runner 8000s that I use. When I'm fishing that bit of current, I'm using a bit bigger sinker. I don't like using them that much for float lining because they're normally too big and cumbersome. They're just a bit too big. Little 4000 might be right, but you're probably using a 6 or an 8. So when I'm using, say, 36 fathoms, I use my bait runners. Yeah, definitely. And line size on those, I got 40-pound braid.
And you use mono?
No, I use braid on them. I used to use mono years ago on the old bait runners. I did a trip to Malaysia, but we're sailfish fishing, but we used a 6 and 8000 size Shimano's, and we used 40-pound braid, and we did the bottom fishing as well. And I realised that I don't need to have mono on my bait runners. It works really well. There's no twist. There's no anything. It's beautiful. Yeah. So I just use 40-pound braid. Yeah. I think that's about it. Okay, that's all the gear. Then I'm going to tell you how to do it. We're going to tell you how to do it. Stu always tells me how to do it because he catches more fish. Oh, a couple of things. Sorry. In this end of town. So if you do get big ones, and you probably will get more than one, if you're on your own, you might get 2 that are 80 centimetres, right? When you get them, they blow their guts and they float belly up on the side of the boat. And sometimes they take a bit, they'll sort of float. If you let them go, they'll float sometimes belly up. Sometimes they go back down. And sometimes they have the gut hang at the bag hang at the front of the mouth. So if you icky spike them in the right spot, and these guys have, there's a, I'll just get back stuck on this one, but the Icky Gym, I think it's called, the app for your phone, and it shows you on every type of fish, every different species, where to spike it. Oops, to spike it. So spike it to release it, spike it to brain kill it. So you can do 2 things, all right? So in the side of the bladder through the stomach, oops, sharp, to release it. So you get that big fish on, it shows you where to put it through and release that air out of it, and it'll swim away nice and happy, I think. And then it also shows you if you want to brain spike a fish and keep its quality really good, it shows you where to put that as well. Okay, so that's another tool that's really good, because those big ones sometimes are hard to get to go back down. And because of the new bag limit, it's painful. You can't do anything about it. Yeah, pliers, Stewie, like those big
Yeah.
ones, they got big muncher teeth on them. Don't get bitten by a snapper, it hurts. I got done once many years ago. It was very, very, very painful. They sort of like do the mango jack type closures.
Grab, yeah, that's right. They're very strong. Their
Yeah.
jaw's designed for crushing stuff. They're a bottom feeder predominantly. So
Mm.
nice
Big
long pair
pliers.
of pliers. You can go digging if it swallows it down. And yeah,
And just a big fillet knife because snapper are quite deep in the body. So don't use a little 6-inch fillet knife to fillet a 80 centimetre snapper. Use a 7 or 8 or 9-inch blade. Okay. Scaling them, like crispy skin snappers, are really good. If you're into scaling fish, which I hate to do, but if my kids are around, they'll do it for me. But otherwise, I'll do it if my wife wants it. But crispy skin snapper is beautiful. So it's worth sometimes just trying it with the skin on. Okay, rather than skinny. So that's about the tools. Nets and gaffs. Okay, do you gaff a snapper or do you net a snapper? This is a real big contention, actually. The problem is, if you've got a guy that's a bad gaffer, I'd say definitely net it. Okay, so your mate's always a bad gaffer, I know that. And I'm a bad netter, right, Stu?
yeah, that's right. But it depends on your gaff as well. You can blame your tools if they're flogged out, worn, bent, horrible. So if you've got a, which is all of Dougie's stuff, if you've got a gaff, see how the gape on the gaff's quite small. This works with anything. But if it's half open, like it's been bent and used for other stuff other than gaffing fish, you won't get them. They'll roll off the tip of it. It's just horrible.
Don't go too wide in the gape. That's what
No.
I'm trying to say. Next thing that Stu didn't say is make sure you take that bit of plastic off.
That helps. Yeah.
It doesn't work.
No.
It won't work.
No.
You'll be going forever. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so get rid of that. Some of the better gas have like a little lanyard thing that pops on, so you know it's either on or off, right? Good to hear some rain. Yeah, so gaff most of your fish if you're going to keep it. Net it if you have to. So I don't like netting it because sometimes it's just hard and they're very flighty on seeing a net. So if they've still got plenty to go and you're trying to net it, sometimes they haven't done the big blow the air out and come to the top on their side. There is to net those ones. But a lot of time they're still swimming and they're still pulling whatever. If you've got a net, they'll just keep running away from it all the time. Have you ever noticed that yet? You might have, I don't know. But a gaff shot, they don't see the gaff because it comes from over the top and straight in. It's all one go. For me, that's how I like to do it. Yeah. Just get a big hole in the flesh when Stewie does it. That's all right.
You brain him, do you?
At the same time, he does it all in one
right,
go.
yeah.
Stu, have you got the net there, mate? Yep. So if you're going to use a net, make sure it's got some depth to it like that. This is actually the same nets we use for flatties. And a fairly decent sized head. Like a 90 centimetre snapper will go into that. They'll curl up. But you just got to do it at the right, at the right time. It has to be when they've blown the air out. As they need to go back down, they won't go very far. They'll come back. The problem we face is sharks. So if it's still on the water, sometimes you get shark problems. So sometimes you got to get them out of the water. Yeah. Take a shot. Okay. And a lot of times snapper too, they're just hooked on the lip, and then you get that fish. You've only got one shot really at the net or the gaff. So just do a good shot. Make sure it's right. Otherwise your mates won't like you for a while. Stu, that's about it in the tools, mate.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to go, fishing tomorrow. I've just done a little drawing here. Sounder. So I know it's hard down the back there, guys, but if you can see it, that'd be great. That's 0 to 50 metres, and the look at zoomed in between just over 30 metres down to 50. So that's our zoom window. So does anyone here not use zoom? Okay, my suggestion is to always use zoom, and zoom in as much as you can. Not too crazy, but golden rule is about 1/4. So if you're in 40 metres, zoom in 10 metres. If you're in 100 metres, zoom in 25. Okay, and that's sort of the minimum zoom I do. If you go into maybe 8 metres in closer and 15 metres out in 100 metres, that's fine. But don't do any bigger. Okay, so this one here, relative to what I just said, doesn't do that actually, but just had to make it measure. But yeah, we're looking between 30 and 50 metres deep. So we're in 50 metres deep. So we're looking at sort of the bottom 30% or 40%. So 30 this is zoomed up, 30, 35, 40, 50. That's the big picture. The problem with the Gold Coast is we have no feature. If you found a 10-metre pinnacle, you're like, you've struck gold. Maybe not for fishing, but you struck gold for the bottom. If you learn to use a zoom, you're going to fish more stuff that's about 1 or 2 metre rises than you are 10 or 15 metre rises. It'll fish better. The 10-metre ones, everyone knows about them. They're all fished out. It's not until you get out over 100 metres that you'll start to find the ones that haven't been fished yet. Okay. Inside of that, there's good sounders. Everyone's got good sounders these days. They can pick up the bottom going at speed as well. And they just push the button for next time and go have a look at it next time. So you need to go next level, which means looking at stuff like fern and looking for stuff that's growing on the bottom that necessarily might not be a pinnacle. It might just be gravel or mud slush or something like that they're feeding on. Generally, stuff that everyone drives over. And that's how we find our better fishing in the last sort of 5 to 10 years. So instead of looking for that and that, I'm looking for that little bump there. There's a little couple of bumps. Everyone will fish that one and that one. I want to fish that one. The bump, the stuff in between. So has anyone tried that yet? Like just looked around outside of the pinnacle and had a crack?
Yeah.
And you have results?
Yeah. Get the odd one who's straight.
Yeah. There'll still be fish on there, don't get me wrong. But there's chances are it's been hammered or just, I don't know, the fish might have stacked up overnight, perhaps. It's just luck. But try to look for fern, gravel, and maybe just a little bit of bump stuff on the bottom. A little bit. Okay. Classic example that is, anyone fished the 36 fathom reef northeast of Jumping Pin? We used to call it the A mark back in the day, 30 years ago. Okay, so it has one really big rise on it, and it's probably the biggest on the 36 fathom reef off the Gold Coast. It comes up from about 68 metres on the outside edge to about 52 or 54. It's quite a big, like I'm talking like 15 metres, 50 feet rise sort of thing. There's nothing like that out here anywhere, all right? And it, even back in those days, because everyone knew it, it never fished, it fished okay, but never fished really massive, really good. But go north of it about probably 300 metres is all of these little rocky ledges, like little ledges that then come up half a metre. And if you look on the Navionics app, if you've got Navionics app, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see these little ridges. And it fishes so well for snapper. It's one of the best snapper spots off the Gold Coast. But it's about a 34K run up to there from here. Okay? But you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see the big lump and then you'll see the ridge. That's the area to fish. So we're fishing sometimes on this side of it or that side of it or in the middle between the humps. But anyhow, get back to the zoom thing. So that's just a bigger version of that zoomed in. So you can see better, you can see the bait, you can see the bigger fish amongst the bait. Where before you might be able to see it if you've got a good sounder. If you haven't got a good sounder, it's going to be quite hard to see those bigger fish. And you must slow down, like unless you've got a really good sounder, like most guys will pull up on the reef and they'll still do like 6 or 8 knots zooming around. Just slow down, 2 knots, little walking speed. I know it takes time, but you can really suss out where the fish are hanging on the reef with the current and the wind or whatever it might be, and you can work out your drift pretty easy off that. If you go too fast, you just sort of like, you know, a lot of guys just go, some guys just pull up on the spot and then throw their lines out. You've already drifted past it. So you've got to do a dummy drift. Every time, do a dummy drift. So example is that mark there is that mark there, okay? That mark in the middle is that mark there. And there's that mark. So I've called that 42. That one there's got SN for snapper on it. It's the middle one. This one here's a rise. It's called COB, C-O-B. And that's drop off, D off, which means that's the edge going down. So it's like 30, oh, well, that's 24 fathoms in that depth, but that was 36s. So the wind's blowing this way from the northwest. I'm going to see that south, north. How many people here like to have their GPS going around circles? Good. So happy to hear that.
Hey.
Always have north facing up. Okay, it's just so much easier. And we know on the Gold Coast that north is that way and south that way. And when you look at the land's west, right? It's so much easier for us to use out here. Otherwise, you're chasing your tail all the time. So north up. So this is north up here, obviously. South down there. So the wind's blowing northwest, and obviously the coastline's over here somewhere. And what I'll do is I'll do my first drift. And my first drift might show me doing, this is a pink one. So it's blowing northwest, but there's actually, even though I should be going that way with the northwest, I'm actually drifting a slight bit of northwest, if that makes sense, sorry. I'm not drifting on that angle, I'm actually drifting on this angle, like a little bit more, because there's a bit of current running. So what I thought was the right way is not the right way. So you need to do that dummy drift to find that out. Because if you had it just pulled up, you went up into the wind, so it looks, that's the perfect direction, northwest. So I've started down here, and I've gone over that one there, and I've just done a little line of it up over here to here, and then I'll turn around, and I think, okay, I'm going to drift that way with the wind. This is if you don't do a dummy drift. But you know where your reef is, you think you got it right, but it's not right. So when you start your drift, let's get rid of that. I started my drift here, and then I've gone past the first mark, okay, maybe got a bite, sorry. But then all of a sudden I'm off track. I'm nowhere near those marks because I haven't taken into account the current. So my next drift, hopefully I got on a mark over here, but I'm going to start probably around here somewhere. And then I might just get that mark there. I'll definitely get that one, and I might just get those other couple there. So you've got to allocate for it. And sometimes the wind's variable and it'll change, it'll go the other way a bit, and you might get to go the other side. But look, normally after the first drift, unless you nail it, you're lucky, you might be good. But generally it takes about two drifts to work out exactly your right drift if the wind doesn't change or the current doesn't change.
So how big is the area that you drift?
Yeah, that's a good question. So say my scale for 300 metres is around about, around that sort of thing. So that's like about, say, 900 metres long or a K long nearly. So quite a long reef. Yeah. And if you're drifting at, say, 1.6 knots, then you'll probably go over it in about 15 minutes or 20 minutes.
Do you mark if you get a bite?
100%. So, which is always difficult because I'm in reverse. I'm watching the float line. I'm holding my bottom fish one, and my mate's just in reverse up at the same time. And then, but as soon as someone hooks up over there or I hook up, straight away I always make the effort of dragging the fish up and pushing the buttons because I need to know. It's like, I look back, and you'll find, if you zoom in enough, the fish do pull your boat around a little bit. That's just the way it happens, right? And if you hook especially a good fish, you'll actually see your drift line. So that's my line here, and I hooked up there. You'll actually see maybe a little bit of like this sort of thing happen. It's a little. So two things to do. If you can't get to your button and push it, look straight away at the GPS and see it relative to the nearest mark you got where you are. Okay, and or go back on it and try and find if there's just zoom in a bit more, and that straight line will all of a sudden become like this, Yeah, zoom into like 50 metres or something. So it gets blown up a lot bigger. Any questions on that at all? Does that make sense? Thunder. So a couple other things too. If you are, like I was saying earlier today, if you're drifting along, you've cast out, the best thing about being the driver is, and if you're on your own or whatever, is you know exactly when to throw your line out. So your mates are already throwing their lines out. And you're just looking at them, hoping they're going to get a bite. And you think, okay, I'm going to throw mine out now because you know exactly you've got to be in the zone and land right on top of that. Or you throw your line out here, your mates already got their lines out, they're way at the back, they're going back up, as Stu does all the time. And I say, hang on, it's not quite the right time yet. but I'll just wait for my line to get down the zone. And then, and then I'll start backing up right about here. My line's right about there. And just that's when you back up a little bit. If you've got the C anchor though, and you're using a C anchor, just deploy it there and just run with it, okay, all the way.
Does the sea anchor make it harder?
Yeah,
to find the line?
because it's sitting sort of about from here to probably the corner, well, not that far, but halfway to the corner behind the boat. It's out of the way of everything. But I generally run it a bit sort of midships on the side of the boat. I don't run it on the front or the back. So it's sort of the
Pulls you sideways.
yeah, sort of goes sideways. That's right. Yeah, semi-sideways. Yeah.
Biggest thing is with a sea anchor as well, it's not going to help you if it's current related. It's only going to help you in
Yeah.
wind.
Yeah.
Because the sea anchor is going to drift the same speed as your boat.
Yeah.
Because that's it.
Yeah.
Oops.
So, but if it's blowing you, like if wind's blowing you, it's definitely going to slow you down then.
Yeah.
And that's the same scenario with electric motors. We were talking about electric motors earlier. So how many people use electric motor in the snapper fishing? Probably a few of you do. I do as well when I can. But if you're using electric motor and as soon as the current's running and the wind's not happening, it's not going to work because your lines are just going to go shunk out the back like that really quick. And it doesn't work. It holds on the spot, but it's going to work. It's going to be working its backside trying to hold you there. But unless you get a long cast up or you use a bigger sinker to allocate for that different current.
So the electric motor's the same problem as the...
Electric motors are really good when it's windy, or if you got no wind. You just don't want to drop the anchor and move around all the time. It's really quick just to do that, to spot lock it. But if you got wind, they're fantastic. You just hold yourself on the spot. There's not much current, straight down, and happy days. Yeah, and you can fish a lot lighter, and you can actually fish out the back without casting. Just drop it straight down. Yeah.
If you've got it, sorry,
Sorry, mate.
oh, you go first.
Yeah, so if you're using an electric motor, you mark up fish, you just hit spot lock.
Yeah, pretty well. You allocate for current and then maybe go up a little bit from it so your lines come back to it. There's not too much current, but if you've got really bad current, I'd suggest probably drifting. If you've got really a lot of wind, the motor will work hard to keep pulling you back on the spot, but it'll work not too bad. It depends on the size of motor and the size of your boat, of course, and how rough it is. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm just wondering if you touch your sink into the middle, wouldn't it pull the boat from the wall?
If that's the boat there, it's hanging about. If you got it sitting on, it's not mid. It's sort of mid to maybe 2/3 of the way down the boat. Yeah, but everyone has the same area where they want to put it. Everyone's own area. It depends on your boat. If it's a half cabin, it may have a different drift line. Yeah. Yeah. Does that all make sense, folks? Okay, so do you all know how when you get when you're coming up to an area like a bite period or a bite spot or pinnacle or whatever, and you back up and you get the bite straight away? Has anyone not experienced that? Okay, do it. You'll experience it straight away. So you'll be drifting along, your line's out a little bit, nothing's happening, and as soon as you back up though, whatever was following your line will attack it. Guaranteed. Okay? So, no, bottom fishing in particular. Really bottom fishing, more than float lining. But float lining as well. So the lines have gone past the zone, they're now at the back like that. Two alternatives, one is to wind and cast back out again, or second choice is to back up. And as soon as the line starts to come down like that, it'll just take off, if they're there. Yeah.
How often will you do that?
Lots. It depends on the wind and the current and everything like that. But look, I'd probably be backing up within about when my line's near the zone. Yeah.
Are you keeping it consistent?
Consistently. Yeah. So, everyone happy with that? If I rub it off the board for a sec. Yep.
The other thing, if you've got an electric motor and you're pretty savvy with it, you can drive with the current, same speed as the current, and you'll always be up and down because you're not fighting with it. So you're just you're keeping that momentum with the. Say if you put your lure in and you're here anyway, if you're spot locked, your lure's going to go that way. But if you travel with it, as it sinks.
Sorry.
Sorry, Dougie. Yeah. And that's float lining or bottom fishing or anything. Yeah, plastic fishing.
Okay, so if that pinnacle's down there, and that's the fish on the pinnacle, I'm trying to target these fish here, the bigger ones on the top of the bait. Okay, and those fish will probably come up to about here in the depth. That makes sense. So not quite halfway, but probably 40% off the bottom depth. They'll come up to. When you're jigging for kings and that, and live baiting, it's the same scenario. They'll come right up really high. If my line's out and my line's say at the back like that there, I've already gone past it. I'll probably be better off to wind my line up and either drift to the next spot or cast back out up a bit. But if you back up, you're going to pull yourself further away, right? The boat's going to be over here. And your line's out here, so you can't back up in that scenario. Does that make sense? So just take that out of there for a sec. So the zone is always in this area here. Does that make sense? Well, actually, maybe a bit further. About that angle. So that's the area that I believe they'll swim to. They might swim over here, or up to that line I had before. So that whole area there is your go-to when your boat's about that position. And if you're up a bit from it, that's okay. Your line's back that way. That's actually not too bad. If your boat was up here, sitting up here, you could actually back up to it and bring it back. Does that make sense?
So is it the way that it falls is more natural, but other than a Paternoster rig? Because Paternoster rig will get straight in that zone.
Yeah, you want it to sort of just waffle down.
Yeah.
Yeah. These big bad boys, as your line's sort of coming down with the bait on it, they'll just come up and slam it. Yeah. Hopefully. Anything else that it just...
No, I think that the biggest thing is just that line angle. Can't have them way out the front, you can't have them way out the back. You've got to have them pretty down below. Yep.
Or you could, if there's no current, just drop it. Yeah. And if you spot lock, just understand the current and adjust for the current. Yeah. Or as Stewie said, you go with it.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to do that though, but it works.
Is it hard to do that?
Oh, you just got to get the momentum right, the speed right. Yeah. Otherwise, these sort of lines never get to the bottom because they're always getting pulled. Yeah, you're pulling it. Yeah.
So when it hits the bottom, does it just go slack and doesn't do anything?
If it hits the bottom, that's a good question. If it hits the bottom and you've got the bite in the zone, that's when they're maybe not biting, or it might be sort of 7 o'clock in the morning. My suggestion then would be to probably just wind it up just a little bit, keep it just on the bottom, off the bottom, and hopefully one will grab it. But in that non-bite period, look, unless you're on a timeline, I'd hang it out there and hope for the bite time. So understand your bite time. It's so important, guys. Whether it be there's three factors. Morning, afternoon, that's one factor. That's the prime bite time. Second bite times, you will get tide bites on the high tide or the low tide, just for a little bit. They're a minor bite. And then your major bite's always 2 hours after high. I don't know why it is, hour and a half, 2 hours after high. And it lasts for about an hour to 2 hours, depending where you are. It'll be 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they'll bite. If it's high tide at 12, they'll come on about 1:30, they'll just come on. And by 3, they'll start to taper off. Then you get another bite again about 4:30. So
I wonder why that is, because, I can understand estuary where it slows a little bit.
it's to do with the moon rising and falling. So always after that, the moon's either in the sky or just popped up on the horizon. And it sort of coincides. Yeah.
So if you get to a spot and you don't get a bite, just move on?
That's a good question too. If it's in the prime bite time, I get out of there. It's worth sounding around slowly and trying to find the fish in that area where you are, mate. Sometimes I move off it a bit. The bait might move off it. They're generally on the bait, but my best days fishing for big snapper and lots of have always been when I can't find the bait. I was serious, and like we've used pillies, and sometimes I don't want to know about pillies. I want to know only live bait, and trust me, whatever you can get, doesn't matter if it's a mado, stripy, a red mullet, or we call them goatfish. Yeah, correct. They smash it. There's nothing else around. You put that down, you'll catch big snapper on them. Yeah. So don't be shy what you put down. Sweep. Tar wine. They eat the whole lot. No. That's the only thing they don't eat. Griller, Sergeant Baker or fillet, and use the fillets because they're red and they're not too bad. I have never caught one. Although, I'll take back what I say. I've caught them on other baits, but when I've cleaned them or sometimes they spat out little baby Sergeant Bakers. Never little baby grinners though. Yeah.
So when you hook the live bait through the nose,
Yeah, so this is the next thing. So I just want to quickly tell you that's snapper done. Okay, everyone's happy with the snapper side of things. This is a bit of bottom fishing now in general. So when you are fishing live bait, say for kingies and amberjacks, anyone gone up chasing kingies and amberjack up the 50s northeast? Does everyone have a boat? I asked about 4.5, but anyone got boats around that sort of 5.5 metre size? Has anyone not been out to who hasn't been out to the 50 fathom reef yet? Who wants to go to the 50 fathom reef? Out of you guys? Okay, good. Okay, so from, to give you some idea, the 24 fathom reef's 10 k's off the Gold Coast here, right? 36 fathoms, 20 k's, 18 at the closest, but about 20. It's then, so when who's been to 36 fathom reefs here now? Most of you have, some haven't. So it's about 20 k's, and the ones northeast with a better fishing, I said right at the top end, that's about 34k, but most of the good fishing's within about 22 k's from there down to there off Burley. So it's always around that 18 to 22k area. Depends if you're going that way or that way. Okay. But when you got to go to 50 fathom reef, it's that distance again.
wow.
Okay. And a lot of people say, I've been to it's in about 82 metres where it is. So the bottom end here is like that, down to say 70 metres. And then when you get to about 75 or 80, or say 78 metres, about that angle. And then when we get to 80 metres, it goes like that for about 15 k's. It's 80 metres forever. So they think you're at the 50 fathom reef, but you're only at the start of the 15 kilometre, 80 metre run forever. And then when you get to 90 metres, you've just overshot the edge of the 50s. So it'll be like that, and then all of a sudden it'll just go like that. So the angle's a lot more again. So from 90 metres is to 100 metres is where it starts to go from that angle to that angle, the edge of the shelf. Okay. And then from there, if you went another 20 k's, which is the same distance we just took to go 20 metres, 30 metres. If you're another 20 k's, you've gone another, you're now 500 metres deep. Because it's a lot faster, a lot quicker taper.
Take you to get up there.
Sorry?
How long does it take to get up there?
Depends on the day, but average day about hour 20.
Okay.
To the 50 fathoms?
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, depends on your boat. If it's done 23 knots, about an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. So as I said, that westerly wind, be careful of it because it's a little bit tricky. You're going with it all the way, it looks really good.
So
Till you stop.
Best wind to go out on as well?
No wind. No, honestly, mate, probably southwest in the morning, swinging around to northeast in the afternoon. 10 knots southwest in the morning. As long as you know it's going to go east during the day, that's fine. It's up your backside all the way out, which is only fishing northeast a little bit. 40 to 43 k's from the seaway. About an hour's run at 20, 22 knots. And then during the day, it'll glass out and then it'll come around to the northeast in the afternoon. The northeasterly wind's more of a coastal wind. So out there, it can be really nice all day. And then when you come back in, you get about 36 fathom reef, so you come in 20 k's, starting to get a bit white cap. And you get into about 20 fathoms and it's blowing like 20 knots. But it's still calm out there. It's a land wind. Yeah. So getting back to the live baiting. So I was saying before, the 50 fathom reef northeast is the hell spot for catching big amberjacks and kingies. for the next 3 months. And then about October, November, they seem to go east. They stay down the east 50 fathoms, which is sort of off surface. So for the next 3 months, you go that way, 50 fathoms. And it's just, it can use live bait. You can jig. We jig a lot. We jig probably more than we use live baits. If I know it's not the seminar for jigging tonight, but jigging outdoes live baits by far, if you know how to do it. You can't keep up to, you can't get as many fish on live baits as you can on jigs. That's what I'm trying to say in a session. Okay. But live baits is easy because you just drop the live down and you paternoster fish while you're waiting for something to slam it. But normally when you're on the Kingy and the Amberjack Reef up northeast there, which I think, I won't go through the GPS maps just yet, but I'll just have a quick look. Make sure you got it on here. You got close. Okay. But I'll give it to you later. But yeah, it's 42 k's northeast. If you drop a livey down there, it doesn't take long. For the next 3 months, it's like seconds. Okay, unless it's a no bite period time. They too don't want to bite. They don't want to bite. But the fish size, anything from 4 kilos to 40 kilos. Okay, not kingies. Kingies about 20 kilo. You don't get to see the big ones from after that. They're too hard to get up. But amberjack's up to about 40 kilo. Okay. But whilst that's happening, you're bottom fishing for pearl perch, snapper, rosy jobfish, massive trag. The trag have been huge this year,
Yeah. Very big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, has anyone here caught trag Jew? Okay, they're actually underrated fish. They're not too bad. The difference between a trag Jew and a mulloway Jew is the trag Jew, their tails curves in, the mulloway curves out. Okay, so that's how you know. But the trag you get out there, which are generally only like that in close, out there they're 80 90 centimetres. They're like a 6 kilo or 7 kilo Jewy, but they're actually trag Jew. And you get them 2 at a time. No, not too bad. Like some of them do, particularly the ones in close. But the ones out there aren't too bad. They're just like a Jewy, the odd ones. Yeah. Yeah. So we've actually got this really expensive torches from Japan that you can actually look. It's for searching for parasites in the flesh. You just hit it and they show up. I haven't tried it yet, but somebody's got them in. Maybe I don't want to try. So, like, there's all different ways, right? If this, actually, I'll downsize it. A lot of people, that's the eye, that's the mouth. A lot of people will just pin it through the top part here, like so, if that makes sense. And it's through there and it sticks out here, sort of thing, with a circle or whatever hook, and single hook. Or they'll pin it through here, not the top of the mouth. They'll go through the side here, and it'll come out the other side like so. I prefer to have 2 hooks on because sometimes they'll chafe off a hook maybe, and you'll miss it. So if that's alive, you're like so. I'll definitely put one through here, through that part of it where his nostrils are. And the second one I'll put in on the side here. I used to go through the whole lot, but I find that they get caught up and bent. So what I do now is I go through, that's his dorsal there and his back fins there sort of thing. I'll go through about here and my hook will be sticking out like so. And this will be in the flesh, nearly to his backbone, but not through the other side. So just on this side of the backbone. And then my hook will be sticking out like so. Okay, so that's there, and this one here is here. Comes out, yeah, through his nearly his nostrils, and that's just snelled on like so.
They're very similar to a mackerel rig, kind of.
Very similar to a biomackerel rig, correct. But have that, actually that needs to be a little bit loose, like so. Don't have it tight. It needs to be able to move around on the live bait rig. So you've got some 7/0 hooks in your bag tonight. That's exactly what I use for live baits. I find 9/0s and 10/0s are too big and cumbersome, and if you've got any little yakkers that doesn't look right, I think it doesn't allow the fish to live bait to hang in there too good because they've got too thick a hook through them. 7/0 is a good size. It's big enough to catch a big fish, and it's thin enough not to look too stupid on a little bait fish. And it's big enough to put a big slimy on. Okay. Leader for that is 60-pound minimum. All depends on your braid, but if you're using 50-pound braid, probably 60 to 80. If you're using 80-pound braid, probably 100 to 120. If you want to get one of those big ones up, like those 30 kilo plus, you need to have at least 100-pound braid. 100-pound leader, sorry. Yeah. Lengthwise, I go at least 6 meters, 4 to 6 meters. Only because they're going to do the where you catch them up there. There's a ledge about 6 or 8 meters. Look, it's called. It used to be called family spot, but now it's called wall death. But along that edge, it's got named after I named it. But along that edge, they'll take it along that edge, and they'll just do you. So you need to have at least 4 to 6 meters of leader. Try and pull them out. But whilst you're doing that, so you're using a big ball sinker or a snapper lead. So you can run a snapper lead and run a Paternoster with your 100-pound leader and have a branch off your Paternoster with your 2 hooks snelled on it.
Oh, so you can actually do a Paternoster and a wide bait on it?
Yeah, of course you can.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and use a 12-ounce sinker. That's with a bit of current, a bit of wind. That's a good alternative. But otherwise, use about a 10-ball sinker or a 3 or 4 ounce glow sinker and run it right on top of your Paternoster. I'd never run. I don't know what you used to do. Do you run a trace with a swivel and sinker above it? Or you run it straight? Run straight.
Straight to it.
So
Yeah.
we both run our sinker straight to our live bait, hitting on the head. Sort of thing.
Oh, you do that.
Yeah, can't really run the swivel because the problem is most liveys will swim back up and tangle
It's
around
terrible.
the main line.
And you got
It's
to wind
horrible.
up 90 meters to untangle it and drop back down.
Yeah.
And when on the way up, he's getting pulled up sideways and he's just about had it, you know.
Dead, yeah.
And you only got 3 liveys. There goes number 1. So yeah, just run the sinker straight on top and keep in touch with it all the time. So it's pretty well straight down. But you'll hit the bottom and straight away, this happens straight away. Or you might even get to the bottom with the livey. That's about it. So I'm running a Paternoster rig, as I said. While I'm doing that, I'm bottom fishing. I'm just watching that one all the time. If it's not getting hit, but it probably will. And using a Paternoster at the same time. And catching bycatch a snapper. Yeah. But it's not too bad. So pearl perch. So we do a pearl perch seminar, but just quickly I'll tell you a bit about pearl perch. That's a species that's really good at the moment. And they're definitely one of the best eating fish out here. So pearl perch, you catch those, you will catch them in 85 metres where the 50 fathom reefs are and on the 36s, but the bigger ones are always on the back edge of the reef. So we just have this in our fish reports all the time. So you'll fish a 36 fathom reef, where it might come from, so 67 metres, it'll come up to like 63. And then I'll drop back down to 67. If you just go a little bit further east on the back side of it, it'll drop down to about 70 or 71 metres. There'll be always wire weed on that edge, and that's where the pearl perch are. You'll also get pigfish there, and you get snapper and you get other stuff too. But most people stop on the outside edge of the pinnacle. They don't go another half a K east of it because they think the reef's there. But some of the best fishing's on the away from it a bit, like I said earlier. Look for wire weed. So wire weed comes up on your sounder. That's a bit of fuzz.
So that was the 36 or the 50s?
Both. So just this sound like before, and wireweeds generally, I'll just say that's the bottom there. Actually, there might be a bit of a taper in it, sorry. Taper in my sounder. So there's a couple of little bumps there, not much. And it's gone from, say, 65 metres here down to 71 here. But you'll just see like a little bit, it's normally yellow colour. You'll just see like a little bit like that sort of thing, a little bit like that. You won't see much. But if you zoom in your sounder, you'll see it come up like, imagine that's now zoomed in here. And we're looking at just that part there. Your wire weed will come up like that on the bottom, and you'll see the fish in there as well. So pearlies are normally just dots, where before you might see like one speck, you know, like that. But when you zoom in, that blowing up, it'll look like that. And the pearlies, sometimes you won't see that, the first drift, and they're in amongst the wireweed. The wireweed's like a curly, like a spring. They can be up to about 2.5 metres long, but generally it's about 1.5 metres. But they're in here, they're in the forest. You won't see them though, you won't actually even see that. So you drop down and all of a sudden you get a couple of good pearlies on, right? You go back for your second drift, and next minute they're all out, they're all come out. And the same spot you just drift over in the GPS at 4, now all of a sudden there's fish there rocked up, but they've been in the Y-weed. Has anyone had that experience yet? No, you will. Give it a crack. So pearl perch, when you get one on, please don't wind too fast, especially with electric reels. Just take it easy. Pump and wind, especially the bigger ones. They're like that. Don't rip it fast. They've got big mouths like that, and they've got the little like blades on the side, and they're like a propeller. They spin. And if you've got too fast, and they've got very soft mouths, the hook will actually pull out. It makes a big hole. As soon as they go back down for a bit of a pull, the hook falls out of them. And pearlies have a really bad habit, especially with big ones, of falling off right at the top, right at the boat. So you go to reach to get your net or something, and they flick off, and they swim back down. They're very hardy. So my suggestion is, if you get them inside the boat, just lift them in the boat. Okay, don't wait, because you'll lose more by holding and waiting than you will actually trying to get a net to save them. So the pearlies are very schooled up type fish and aggressive. So when they're on the bite, you've got them going. If you drop a couple, they'll talk to their mates and you just won't get them again. Oh, they do, serious. So if your mate drops a good one, you want to go and maybe bash him, but because you know the next drift ain't going to happen. It's all over. You've done that spot.
Trade G's like that too, isn't it?
Trade gears a bit like that too, yeah. And I think most fish do actually talk, but pearlies really talk. Okay, so you need to don't drop a fish. Just take your time, get it up, get them in the boat. But there are fish that you can get 1, 2, or 3 on at the same time. So if you get one on, and you've got a good fish on there, just hold it. Just hold the weight up. If you've got a Paternoster, you've got 2 or 3 hooks on. Hold the weight up, and then you'll feel that second bite, and you've got 2 on. That's probably the time to pull it up. Yeah, you just got to learn to feel that feel. Yeah, it's quite deep and a long way down. And as I said, if you drop one, you might not get another go at it. But generally 2 or 3 drifts I find you've got either bagged out if they're on, and they don't seem to bite much after that. You've got to go to the next spot. And the same thing will happen again.
Are they in similar spots to the snapper?
Believe it or not, they are. The little ones are, but the bigger ones aren't. So pearlies' friends are generally pigfish, which are really nice to eat as well, and good-sized pigfish. Rosy jobfish, which are really nice to eat as well. So the rosies, the pigs, and bar cod.
Yeah, little bar cod.
Yeah, little bar cod live in the same town. And the snapper up on the hill, up on the pinnacle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you bagged out the snapper and you want to go catch pearlies, just go half a K or a K east of where you are and look for Y-weed. And when you find the Y-weed, mark it real quick on GPS, and then go from east, we're going sort of from west to east, going down it. Once you find it and you mark it, then run north and south along it and try and find the better area of it, all the fish that are stacked on it in a certain area. Okay. Anything else? Anything else you want to know about bottom fishing at all, folks? No? All good? Okay. Oh, sorry?
When I'm going along and I've
Yep.
found a little bit of pinnacle
Yep.
and I spot lock on top of it,
Yep.
and 5 minutes later the sounder goes back to flat, have I missed that spot?
You
or is
probably
it just
swung
the
up
sounder
because
picking up the same
yeah.
thing
So a lot of
again?
people don't realise when they spot lock. First, it normally clicks in where you've straight away pushed the button, right? But the problem is you haven't taken the current or the wind, so it might just be 10 metres that way. You just swung off it the wrong way, mate. And the pinnacle might actually be on the edge just over there. And most fish, especially tragdew and jewies and stuff like that, and snapper will mingle around a bit, but they won't. You need to be right on top of them. So you'll need to just unspot, just go do another sound across. Mark it better on GPS, zoom in further than GPS, so it's really zoomed in, and you know exactly where it is, you know. And guys, I always say all the time, I always leave all my tracks on there. So my sound is like spaghetti, it's got tracks everywhere. But I change the colour depending on the season. So the snapper colour, pearly colour, mackerel colour. And I know at that time of the year which angle I drifted on that wind or whatever it may be, right? Yeah. I'm always too scared to clean it up, because if you clean up, you delete a track which maybe been going for 2 months, there's a lot of info there you don't want to. Some stuff you want to delete because it's just getting a bit messy, but other stuff you don't. So you can't just do one. Unless you change the track every day, if something go fishing, then you can probably delete it. But if you leave it going like mine forever, you can't delete it. You can't delete it. It's too much information. So it gets a bit messy. It becomes one big black line or red line, whatever it might be.
Is there a right and wrong way to rig up flesh baits?
Look, that's a good question too. With flesh baits, I have a little rule, and that's to pin the first hook as close as I can to the top of it. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is I find that first thing it twists really bad. So the higher up the hook is to the top of the piece of meat that you're using. So if this was a piece of flesh like so, my first hook's going to be right up here somewhere where it goes through.
It's when this tag end at the front folds over that it spins.
Yeah, so if you put the hook down here, that's going to be really badly spinning. And fish don't like spinning. They hate it. No. Any bait. Pillies, doesn't matter. And I always snell it, so I'll run another one down here somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, is that all right? Yeah. And don't cut it too wide as well. Keep it sort of more slender, baitfish style. Yeah. People sometimes put too big a chunk on. Yeah. Cod fishing or sharks might be right, but not for snapper and that. Yeah, so I'd trim that back to probably around that sort of size there. Yeah, if I was going to do it, yeah. So that's quite neat and tidy.
Flesh baits mullet.
Flesh baits mullet or bonito or whatever you got. Yep, whatever you can catch. Sergeant Baker's if you're down to the nitty gritty. Yeah.
Grinners, no.
No grinners, no. They don't even cut that grade. Yeah, whiting's good. So whiting's good whole or use it as a flesh bait if you got a big enough strip on it. Definitely whiting because it's going to be dead, generally speaking. If you can get live whiting in the bait jigs though, but you'll pin it if it's dead. Pin it through from under and out the nose that way because they're quite hard in that area and it stays on better. Any other questions at all?
Why wouldn't you use grinner as a strip bait?
Look, I think I've tried it many times, more than once. No, I got more grinners on it. I'm serious. I'm serious. I know. I once it up. But sorry, I got a sore ribs. But yeah, it's it's slimy, it's soft, it just doesn't work very well. Yeah. Yeah. I think little ones would be all right. That's the only time I'd ever use a grinner, maybe, like a Sergeant Baker. The little ones. But you never catch them. You get them occasionally in bait jigs. Occasionally. Yeah. Okay, I think that's about all I need to tell you guys. Get out there and do it, that's what I reckon. So you got 3 months. You got the next 3 months, snapper time, prime time. And good bottom fishing.
There's a closure coming up.
Yeah, so very close. So it starts next week? Oh, no, 20th of July, is it? 20th of July to 20th of August, I think. 15th?
15th or something.
We'll take the third one, it's always right. Third's always lucky.
Is it better after the closure? Someone said to me it's better after.
Oh, it is. So we always try and get it the day after the closure, of course.
That's right.
Look, the beauty of it is you've got other species to chase. You've got mulloway and cobs and stuff like that too. So don't stop fishing. But yeah, it's a painful thing, but it's hopefully made our fishery better. Yeah.
It's good. No, that's good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. But the bag limits, I just hope they don't get any more, like they did the mackerel, more tighter on it because the mackerel, I don't know if you got, did anyone who did the mackerel paperwork when it come out, you have options A, B or C, I think it was. So they went for D. So, which wasn't on there. And A, B and C was what they wanted anyhow. That was their recommendations. You had to choose one of the. So it was like mackerel closure for whatever weeks it was, or mackerel cut back and fish all the time. So you get at that time it was 3 Spanish or 2 Spanish. So back to like 2 a boat, 1 a person, but unlimited fishing. Go every day if you wanted to, no closures. They gave us the closure and they took the limit as well. So we got both. So that's why I hope they don't do a snapper, because then the day you let 8 snap, which is not too bad for 2 guys, only 4 if you're single, right? For sure. And I think it's 1 over 65. I think it's 65. 70, is it?
Yeah.
1 over 70.
Closures are no
Yeah.
take it all, isn't it?
Closures no take at all.
Yes,
No, that's right. Yeah, you're not meant to be targeting them.
No.
But some guys get there and catch them, but they put them back. They're pretty hardy.
Yeah.
Except for the vent tool, they got a big one that might blow it up. But hopefully they don't put any more closures on, like any more tighter restrictions on us. Yeah. We're all green, but we're not crazy green. Yeah. Is there anything else we're going to add, mate?
That's about it, mate.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions on anything fishing for the next?
Can you
next
do,
time.
you did the snail hooks and stuff. Can you just draw how you would hook up like a double or a triple gang hook?
Yeah. Do you want me to do a snell, or do you want Stu to do a snell for you? Or
Or like just like the actual gang hooks, not the snail. Not
Oh.
the actual like gang.
how to make a gang hook?
Or just how to like how you actually hook up a pulley or something.
Oh yeah. No, I just happen to have Exhibit A here. Oh, I've got to talk to you about GPS marks, and then we're done. Sorry, Stu. So I'll just put this on the plate and pass it around. I was meant to do this earlier, so I forgot. So we're very lucky because pilchards have dotted lines for us to put the hooks on. Okay. So the most important part is to work out that last hook there goes through around the eye area. Okay. So obviously you're going to start your first hook about here somewhere. Okay. Hold it in your finger, in your hand like that, with your thumb on its bum. That's what I call Bubba's bum. And push those 2 fingers against that way, and the thumb goes that way. So hold it firm, okay? So we know where the hook's going to go. It's going to go right there. So start my first hook there, and where the blue meets the silver colour, that's normally the backbone. That's where you stick it through. First hook on. Swivel, putting hooks with swivels on is always a bit harder than actually just normal gang hooks with no swivel. And then the last hook goes through the eye. So I've just followed the dotted line down the side there. Okay, we'll pass that one around. Actually, I'll put on a 2-hook snell rig as well. I'll do that. So if that's the pilchard, that's a fairly big pilchard. I'm going to try and get 2 baits out of that, so I'll cut it perfectly in half. But if the pilchards are small, I'll generally cut it at about, I'll just cut the tail off, which I'll do here as well. So that's a bit bigger bait. Thanks, Drew. So if I'm using this one here, I'll do the hook like I was telling you about for the liveys, okay, the bottom hook. So through the side and then just stick it out like so. And this hook here, I go from the top down. If you go from the bottom up, you tend to sometimes rip its bottom of its mouth out. So go from the top down, it's easy, okay? And then the last one, I think I had another 2-hook reuse on this. Might be in here, sorry.
Do you guys sell the dressings at all?
Yeah, we sell.
Yeah.
We sell everything. I've got one here, man.
Have you got one?
Yeah, thanks. So I'll do the tail section. So right, because we've already got a head section done there. So the tail section, I sometimes go through here because the hook, if you put it through just one side, it sticks out the angle. If you go from through one side, pull the hook out, then dig it straight in there, it just sits that bit nicer on there. And then I'll wrap the line around, maybe twice if I can. And then just stick it through the tail. Like so. That's my rig there. So I'll just pass this around. Try and present it so you don't have to touch it, but you can see, show it for you, the next guy that's looking.
You'll float lying down and you don't get hit on the drop. Do you stay down for long?
Yeah, I do, mate. Yeah, I'll stay down, especially if I can see that pinnacle about to come up my sounder or that roughy area. I know it's like 50 metres in front of me. I'll just sort of back up a little bit so it's sort of just in the zone. And then when I'm finally drifted close to the area, it might be like a couple of minutes, I'm about to come up the next little bump. then in that case, I'll then, when I get to it, I'll reverse back a fair bit. So my line's gone in the front of the boat and actually goes over it in the right area. If you're twisting up, you've got too much slack line out, or maybe you're using mono, are you? Or braid? Are you using braid? And your line's getting twisted up? Are you using a swivel at all?
Yeah, halfway down the lead.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Okay.
So run your sinker right onto the bait. Yeah, please. Yeah, just try it, mate. But you got to learn to join your braid to your mono. Just use an Albright or a FG or whatever you use.
Either of them.
Yeah, yeah, and it'll make the difference, mate. You still get caught up occasionally, but not too bad. And trim it. Always trim your tag on your mono as close as you can get it, and then always check it. Make sure that they haven't trimmed too close. Sometimes they pop out, so it'll be tight again. But always check it before you bait up and throw it out. Yeah, and the tag on the braid you can leave about 5 mil long. Yeah.
How much tag do you leave on a mono?
A none.
No.
So as close as I can get it, trim it. I'll trim it. Okay, let's go on around. Any other questions at all, folks? Okay, cool. Out there doing it.
Tomorrow's forecast good.
Saturday is. Saturday's the day.
Saturday's
Yeah. So we just had a look before.
Yeah.
It looks like it gets up to about 10, 11 knots. That's it. Oh, sorry. And that includes that wide. It's like, sort of it's variable all over the place. And then
Tomorrow's 10 to 15 or something.
that's right. Yeah, correct. And then Sunday morning is already blown at 5 o'clock. It's already blown 11 knots from the northwest. So it's really, it might be all right and real close, but I think it'll still be a bit choppy. And then it sort of blows 15 knots mid-morning from the north. It's ugly. And then at about 4 o'clock, we'll probably get a storm with this too. Is like a sudden 20-knot southerly change comes in before dark. So then it blows southerly for most of the week.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately. So then we've had 2 weeks of really good weather.
Yeah,
I was away for most of it, but it was good. Stu got out. Did you go ashore at all? No, bloody fishing.
When
Yeah.
you get out there on like first light on your known spots, do you more concentrate on the fact that it's that first light period and just do some of your normal trips, or do you still sound around until you find?
Yeah, that's a really good question because time's the essence, right? I will always do the blind drift if I know, like, especially I've been out a couple of days earlier and got the fish there, it's good, right? If you haven't been out for, say, 2 weeks and you think, oh, geez, I hope they're there. Look, I do 50-50. If I'm unsure and I haven't been out for quite a while, I will sound over. If I've got, say, that line of 4 spots, I've got my drift's going that way. I might go over to, I'll sort of cut out a bit. I don't like to run the sounder over everything the first drift. I like to actually, my perfect scenario is to go wide of it, go up, do the dummy drift, or like parallel with it, exactly right, mate, maybe 200 metres to the east or west of it. And I know exactly what I'm going to do, then I go back up again, and then I just go over it. And hopefully nail it, yeah. But if I don't get any fish on that first drift, I'll definitely sound it around and back up over it. So maybe the first drift, have a crack, just hope, yeah. Yeah, but there's a funny thing, you know, they're a bit like the Jewies. I don't know if you guys catch Jew out here offshore, but you can be on the mark, on the spot locked on or whatever, and there's nothing. It's just the line sitting there, live bait sitting around. And then as soon as that sun goes down on top of Tambourine and it just goes that little shade darker, it's wham bam on, it's on, you know. And the snapper, the same deal. Before it's dark, the complete opposite. Nothing, and you're sitting there, and you're a bit early, which is a good thing for some people. I'm always late, which is a good thing for the snapper. The sun's already nearly up. But when that first cracker light happens, all of a sudden someone will get a bite, or one of your lines will take off. You've got to wait for that first cracker light. You rarely get it in the dark. You get, as I said, you get Traeg and other stuff, Taylor. Okay, GPS marks. What's the last thing, guys? Can I have a show of hands? How many people here from Brisbane? A few of you. Okay, I don't have many. I have marks here that go up to Nelly Point Lookout, but not quite. Do you guys fish?
Harry's?
No, I know where Harry's is, but I don't have the mark here. Do you want it? Yeah. If you don't mind, I'll get my wife, Succo, she'll be downstairs. Just tell her you're from Brisbane. She'll put a B next to your name, and I'll send you guys a few more GPS marks by that way. Is that all right? Okay. But otherwise, the under 50 metre marks are 27.41. So the jumping pin is the latitude. Okay. So the seaway is on 27.56. If we go 1 mile north, it's 27.55. So that 6 goes to 5. Every mile we go north is that number changes by 1. Once it goes to 60, 59.999, it'll go, instead of going to 27.57, it'll go 27. Sorry. No, that's 20. Okay, 27.59.9999. Instead of going to 27.60, it'll go 28.00. So every 60 nautical miles, that bigger number becomes 1 more. Okay, if you can work it out from that, it's a bit hard. But yeah, 27.41. We know that jumping pin's on 27.43 roughly. So that's just north of jumping pin bar. So that's what we call Sully's. Have you heard about Sully's Reef or that area? That's there. Okay. And then we come down to around the seaway, 27.54, 56, 56, 56, 57, 56. Now all that's off the seaway. And 28.00, that's off about Q1. Okay. And then the other number, the 153.33. So the 33 is always on the outside edge of 24 fathoms. But if you went down a few lines and you got 153.28, you're in about 17 fathoms. Okay. So every time you go out another mile, that number gets bigger. So from 153.28, and look up a bit higher, 153.33, that's 5 miles further out. Nautical miles, which is about 8 Ks or 9 Ks. So it's all relative. So you need to put all these marks in and put them on, open up your plotter and you see where they are. That's the best way to say it. The under 7 metres, the next one. Again, 27.38, so we're way north of jumping pin. That's that mark I was telling you about before. That's got the big pinnacle at one end and the little low ravines, ridges. It says under 70 metres, the first one, 27.38. And it goes all the way down to 27.40. It's actually the same reef. So 38 is the low stuff part of it, the 40 is the high end part of it. Okay, it's about 1.5 miles down the track. It's about 3 Ks long. 27.48, if you can see that, there's about 3 or 4 of them there. If you can have a look across to the right side, you've got 153.37 and 153.36. So what that means is there's 2 ridges. So there's 2 ridges on 36 fathoms halfway up South Stratty, and it goes up to jumping pin Nelly. So there's 2 ridges that run, there's exactly a nautical mile between the 2. And sometimes the snapper on the inside edge and sometimes on the outside edge. You've got to do, again, you get there, let's talk about from the dark and dodge the whales to get there. And you've got to then realise that's the one that's right up. That's the one that's right up, mate. That's it, yeah. But when you dodge the whales and you got to your spot, you think, do I go the inside edge or the outside edge? And sometimes it's like, 1 mile, it's only 5 minutes, but by the time you work at your drift and everything, you've just start blowing 20 minutes, right? So if you've got 2 boats going, the best thing is you both go there or there. And then if the fish are on, if you've got time to call your mate, which sometimes doesn't happen, you get out to where he is.
Sorry, 27.48 at the top of Australia.
27.38. No, that's about 27.48. No, that one's halfway up South Stratty. Yeah, so 27.38 is about 10K north of Jumping Pin Bar. Yeah.
Can I ask if you use satellite, like if you wanted to explore through the day, would you actually mark up snapper?
Yeah, if the bite time's during the day and you find it, drop down.
No. What I'm trying to ask is if you wanted to explore, you've got that small bite time.
Yeah.
Could you actually do that through the day and say, well, okay,
Yeah.
Will that work when you go back the next day? Sort of
Yeah, they'll be there. They'll be schooled up there, 100%.
So
if you found them at 10 o'clock in the morning and it's no bite time, nothing's happening, and you want to get there early the next morning, if they were there, they should be there the next day.
Yeah, so they don't
Yep.
actually move away.
No,
with
they'll,
the
if
daylight.
there's bait or
Sun
something
will
holding
come
there,
out.
no, generally
Just
not.
they stop by.
But if you find them sometimes on that really low country stuff,
Yeah,
sometimes I'll move on to a
right.
pinnacle or something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that goes right down to 2809. That's the under 70 metres. So 2809, we're about off Kira. So that's all the 36 fathom reefs from here, from half out North Straits to Kira. Okay. The under 100 metres, and now we're at the 50 fathom reef. And again, 2739, we're about 5k north of Jumping Pin Bar. And it goes right down to 2814, which is down off sort of Cabarita. So way down south. Anyone here from Tweed Heads at all? You from Tweed, mate? Yeah, good. So anything up to about 2805, which is Burleigh, is in your area.
Is that in the 70 metres?
In both, actually, 50 fathoms and 70. Yes, so 50 fathoms and 36s, that's correct, yep. Which is 70 and 100 metres. But I don't have anything south of sort of Q1 on the in close stuff. Do you only fish in close or 36s, mate?
Sort of, I usually fish at back at 9 mile.
Oh, back at 9 mile, yeah, okay.
And go sort of out, probably back bottom half there, as you said.
Yep.
Kira,
Yeah, off Kira, yep.
50, 60 metres.
Yeah, good, mate. So these guys are lucky in some way. Specifically got Tweed Bar. But the beauty is that where we are here, it's 20 k's out to the 36 fathoms, and it's 40 k's out to the 50s. We went straight up front. Where they are, it's 10 or 12 k's to 36s and 20 k's to the 50 fathoms. So, because the way the Gold Coast, we're in a big bay here, and it hooks out at Tweed Heads, and it's a lot closer to the deeper water down there. And same Point Lookout, it's very close at Point Lookout. But for you guys up in Brisbane, you go all the way across the bay to get to us. That's the problem. And then that over 100 metre mark is where I get good pearlies. So that's sort of just south of Jumping Bar in about 100. I think 100 and the bottom one, 47.785 is about 110 metres, I think. Okay. Trying to chase pearlies. Put them all in there. There's a lot of fish there.
So,
Okay.
how do you choose which one do you choose first? Like,
Depends on the wind and the current, and how much fuel you got, and all that sort of stuff. That's right. It's scary, Johnny, because a lot of the time I go out there with the guys and I go, shit, I'll give that market. Shit, give that market. Like, it doesn't matter. A lot of guys find their own marks. Guys, my suggestion is, most of you probably troll for mackerel and dollies and marlin when it's not snapper time. And at that time is when you go look at searching the bottom. You don't need to worry about the bait. If you're going to get biting lures, they're going to bite it anyhow, right? Forget about the bait. Zoom on the bottom. Zoom into a 10-metre window and just keep watching the bottom everywhere you've been trolling around. At 6 or 8 knots, you can pick the bottom up pretty good and then mark those spots. And we do it every year. We find 6 or 8 good spots and then we'll go back and try them in winter and we catch fish and they become a new spot. Okay? Because you don't normally have that opportunity. So when you troll and it becomes a great time to search for new grounds. Okay. Bait, mate, was the other thing I wanted to show you. I didn't do it on one of those things, but does anyone use this elasticized type stuff at all? Yeah, it's great. If you're a bit unsure about holding your bait on your hook, or if you're only using a single hook in particular, and you want to do a single hook but keep it tight on the bait, not twisting, use this stuff here. It's like stretchy type stuff. Okay, and it goes sort of like a UV purple colour in the water, but you just wrap it around and around and around and around the fish, like a few times, right up to where the line meets. Then just pull it off, and it locks in. It doesn't unravel or anything, and that's it. And the fish, when they go to get the bait off, it's very hard for them to pull the bait off the hook. Okay, so your pillies on there really good. Okay, so it just comes in little cobs or 2 cobs in a bag, but a great thing to have in the boat. If your mate needs stitching up, you could probably use it. If he gets a hook in his son. I think that's about it, Stu. Anyone to add, mate?
No, I think that's about it. Yeah. Yep. Just
Yeah.
biggest thing, watch out for weather. Watch out when you travel over at night or when it's dark. Especially whales this time of year, and that's about it.
Like, we don't go more than, and Stu's the same, we don't go more than about probably, we're just on the plane, 15 knots or 16 knots in the dark, and wear a life jacket. It's the only time I shouldn't say that. Wear a life jacket all the time. But it's the main time I wear a life jacket is in the dark. Because if you hit something or hit a whale, you won't even know. Before you know it, you'll be in the water. And we had a couple of customers last year that got done pretty bad by whales. So, and daytime too, by the way. Yeah. So be careful whales, and it's not their fault or your fault. It just happens. Yeah, and that's true. So the other thing too, remember, is fuel. So if you're going to go for a bit of adventure out wide, just understand what your boat uses for fuel. Okay. It's embarrassing to be called up Coast Guard. Whatever. Another thing to note too, most VHF radios, they will work out in the 50 fathom reef, but sometimes they don't work that well. They work okay on 36s, but once you get a bit out past the 36s, it's hit and miss. Okay, so if that's the case, it'll be on 7.3. You go to channel, I forgot what it is now. It's 82. Go to channel 82. It's a repeater station, so it boosts it up. So it's a repeater up in tambourine, so it picks up high down to low. So it's a different wavelength to the other channels. So that's the repeater station. So the emergency, if you want to use 16 or whatever, maybe quickly flick it to 82. You might better pick something else up, or they'll pick up you. Yeah. No, it does on some boats. It's really weird. Vodafone, Telstra. If you've got an antenna on your boat, it's not too bad. But if you don't have the booster thing, it's very hit and miss. It's really weird. We can be out sometimes 60k out, 70k out, and all of a sudden it'll start ringing, and all of a sudden you get messages coming through going, "Get away!" Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but mate, yeah, it's just hit and miss. I don't know how that works. I don't know if there's like the frequency sort of goes across the ocean in little patches. I don't know. There's someone here who might know about it. I don't.
I was just going to ask, if we're going to target snapper with soft plastics, what sort of style, size?
Yeah, 5-inch sort of jerk shads are the best. Yeah,
Jerk shads,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Any particular colour?
Gulps. White, and then probably new chicken or something like that. Yeah, or pilchard. Yeah. Okay, that's it. So guys down at Tweed Heads, I've got a few marks down there too, but not much on here. But if you want to just tell them Psycho, so Tweed Heads and Brisbane people, just tell them Psycho, and I'll try and get some marks to these guys the next sort of weekend. Is that right? Yep. Okay. Okay, Stu. It's that time of the day we do the draw.
That's it, Matt.
That's it. Thanks, guys. Catch you later. Okay, we're going to do the draw.